What's going on, everyone? Bass here. Day 6 of Packers training camp has ended, so let's recap everything and go over the biggest takeaways from camp today. And today was the first full padded practice. And if you do want more Packers training camp coverage, I put out multiple videos a day during Packers training camp, including recaps such as this one, as well as highlights from the early portion of practice. Just put out the highlight video from today. If you want to go watch that, click the link right above. So if you are new here and that interests you, please consider going down, clicking the subscribe button, and also putting on post notifications to not miss any video. It supports my channel a ton. As always, let's first go over what Matt Lafleur said today during his pre-practice press conference. Firstly, he said the preseason games will help sort out the battles at depth safety and outside linebacker, etc. So obviously the Packers don't have a true third safety right now. There's kind of a question mark on edge 3, 4, and 5. So they're going to want to see these guys in game against 100% talent other teams to really get a hold of who will be those guys. Matt Lafleur was asked about if last year's Week 1 game against the Saints will influence him and whether or not to play starters in the preseason. And he said, quote, "Yeah, potentially. You've got to learn from every situation you've been in. At least it stimulates conversation." So this year we might see more starters playing in the preseason, but obviously there's an injury concern, so we'll see what happens. Matt Lafleur also said there are no updates for wide receiver Christian Watson on when he'll exactly return, but he did say he is getting better. When asked about Amari Rodgers, he said, quote, "I think Amari had a really good day yesterday, not only what he's shown on special teams, but offense as well. The effort he showed yesterday was pretty gritty." And then finally, he said they would potentially do live tackling during family night on Friday. He says we'll see how they feel going through these next few days of practice and then decide. So we could see some live tackling on family night on Friday. That would be pretty cool. As for injury updates, the only update was guard Cole Schneider, who limped off yesterday, is not at practice today. That is considered to be an ankle injury. And then also Mercedes Lewis was not padded today. He was not practicing, but he wasn't injured. It was for veteran rest, but he was there coaching up some of the tight ends. Now let's move on to the team periods and start with offense. The starting offensive line today was Josh Nijman, left tackle, John Runyon Jr., left guard, Josh Myers at center, Royce Newman, right guard, and Zach Tom at right tackle. So Zach Tom getting some right tackle reps now. We've seen him at left tackle with the ones, the twos, so showcasing his ability to really play anywhere. He's been super impressive so far. During 1v1s, Josh Nijman stood up Rashawn Gary twice, who he's kind of been beating everyone to this point. To see Josh Nijman stand him up twice, very, very impressive, and he didn't take any more reps after that, proving he deserves a starting role on this offensive line going forward. So the Romeo Doubs saga continues when the pads come on. He beat Stokes 1v1 deep once with an Aaron Rodgers throw. He also drew a DPI from Stokes on a Jordan Love throw. He did have a drop from Jordan Love, and he got up a little gingerly, but no worries, he did return. And then towards the end of practice, he came back and scored a really nice touchdown in the back corner of the end zone on Rico Gafford, a toe tap touchdown, and also drew a DPI penalty on Gafford as well. Romeo Doubs has seriously been the real deal in training camp thus far. I've been saying, hey, wait until the pads come on. The pads came on today, and he still produced. I'm very excited to see him in game in preseason. Hopefully they do play him in preseason. I don't see why they wouldn't, but I want to see him go against full speed defensive backs with Jordan Love throwing the ball. Really excited to see that. Romeo Doubs just been so impressive. So far looks like a complete steal at the fourth round selection we got him at. Another really nice day from Amari Rodgers as well. As we saw earlier, Matt Lafleur said he had a really nice day yesterday. He had another one today. Had a good separation on a quick slant on a 5-wide set. And wide receiver Danny Davis also continues to impress. Likely a locked-in practice squad candidate at this point. Just don't see him making the 53-man roster. Not that he's not a good wide receiver. He's just kind of a practice squad guy as of right now. And Sammy Watkins, also a really nice day, probably his best day yet in camp. And speaking of best days at camp, I think the player of the day on offense was definitely Jordan Love today. He had a very, very good day. Great throws to Sammy Watkins, Samori Toure, Dominic Daphne, Romeo Doubs, and Elise Mack. He was just very, very impressive today. Tight end Sal Cannella had a really nice route against Donald Levitt. I think he's a dark horse player to potentially make this roster. He would have to beat out someone like Dominic Daphne, but I think he could do that. Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon did have some snaps together to start team periods, which is a really good look because I want to see more two-back sets with these two running backs, so that's a good sign to see that. And then finally on offense, there's been a big matchup with Randall Cobb and Rasul Douglas, both working out of the slot. Cobb beat him twice a day, so really big matchup there. Rasul Douglas moving to the slot this offseason. Obviously, Randall Cobb has been in the slot his entire career. You kind of would expect Randall Cobb to get the better of Rasul a couple times, which he did today. Moving on to the defense, firstly, Ennis Gaines had a really nice day today, and he is fighting, obviously, for a safety spot on the 53, as I say every time. There's no real true safety 3, safety 4 yet, so obviously a lot more camp, a lot more games to be played, but Ennis Gaines has had a couple nice days in camp in the last 2. Devontae Wyatt went 2 for 3 on 1v1s today versus John Runyon, really showed his athleticism. I know a lot of people have been asking for anything Devontae Wyatt, and I think this is perfect time for it because the pads came on and he's starting to show his true ability down low in the trenches, and he's been very, very super athletic and explosive as well. Rashawn Gary continues to ruin plays, even in the run game, containing the edge. He even split, on one rep, a double team with Josh Nyman and John Runyon Jr. to get a pressure. The player of the day on defense probably goes to Devondre Campbell, still looking like the all-pro that he is. He was pretty much everywhere today. Had a couple nice pass deflections, one of which a ball was thrown to Dubs over the middle where he, got up and tipped the ball, didn't allow it to get to Dubs. He had a really nice day in coverage and just overall. As for edge, Tipa Naliai and Kingsley Enagbare were the next up at edge rushers today. Usually it was Tipa Naliai and Ladarius Hamilton the last few days, but Tipa Naliai has held that spot the entirety of camp. I definitely see him making this roster as edge 3 or 4 at this point. Although Stokes got beat by Romeo Doubs a couple times today, he did have really, really solid coverage on Sammy Watkins when he ran a 9 route. During 11-on-11s today in the team period, Jair Alexander sat out, but it was not said to be injury-related, so take a deep breath. We're fine there. Shamar Jean-Charles took his place on the outside when they were in the nickel, but then when they went back into base, Rasul Douglas moved outside. Jair being out during team periods, you know what you have with Jair. I mean, the quarterbacks aren't even throwing to him in camp because he's so good. So you kind of assume they didn't want him in there because you know what you have, and get the young guys more snaps on the outside like Shamar Jean-Charles. Defensive lineman Jerron Reed is having a very nice camp so far. He's been super disruptive thus far in camp. I think this is a really great signing. I was kind of wondering what to expect from Jerron Reed going forward, but so far through camp, I think he is the starter day 1. I think Devontae Wyatt will start soon enough this year, but Jerron Reed's been super impressive in camp so far. On the red zone and goal line, he's been getting into the backfield many, many times. And overall, the defense just had a ton of pressure today from their front 7. It was not a great day for the offensive line, to say the least. Finally, on defense, Isaiah McDuffie looks a lot faster this year on defense and special teams. Had a nice A-gap pressure today. And speaking of special teams, have a couple takeaways from special teams. Dallin Levitt looks like a true special teams player. I have him as a lock on this roster just because, he's a Basashia guy. They have some guarantees in his contract. He definitely plays with some zip. I think he will be a great player to have on special teams. The Packers in recent years haven't really had those guys that are true special teams guys that you see around the league on other teams. So I think Dallin Levitt will be that. Glad to have him on the team. Rico Gafford and Amari Rogers started as the gunners for punt coverage. Vernon Scott also had some reps as gunner on punt coverage. He's had a couple nice days of camp the past 2. As for punt returns, a lot of muff punts and missed balls today. It is very windy out, but Romeo Doubs missed 2 or 3 punts. Amari Rogers and Ishmael Hyman both with muffs. At this point, Randall Cobb is still looking like the safest option at punt return. And then finally, for special teams, interestingly enough, John Runyon actually had some long snap reps. Jack Coco's been playing well thus far, but I guess they're just trying out other guys. But I think Stephen Vertel is as good as gone, which I'm happy about. But those are the main takeaways from Packers training camp day 6. Like I said, this was the first full padded practice, so a lot of stuff to go over today. But tomorrow is going to be more of a jog through practice. They're going to ramp things up a little bit on Thursday, right before family night on Friday. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, if you could please leave a like down below. It supports my channel a ton. But I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching. As always, go Pack Go.